Can you introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
My name's Heather Cowie, and I'm an artist.
There you go.
Painter at this point in time, sometimes a sculptor, painting at the moment.
So how did you first become interested in your field or this profession?
Oh, blimey. I'm a visual person.
Yeah.
Loved colour, texture. I was a geologist in my first life, so always looking at the ground, always looking at colour. Brought up in a gold mining town in Australia, so all the rocks were exposed. No green grass like England, which drives me nuts. So the whole life spent looking at ground and colour and landscape and, yeah, that sort of thing.
Right.
So that's how I got in. But I decided I'd always loved art, but you could always only do certain subjects if you wanted to be a scientist, and my science love came first when I was young.
So at what point did you transition from just science over to science and art, and then over to art?
I think once I owned a farm, and I was a wool grazier, so I had to be at the farm, but I did workshops, so I did lots and lots of summer schools and just fell in love with all kinds of things. So just explorations, and then having exhibitions, and then finally went back and did a master's in fine art, eventually. But so it was how old was I? 35, I suppose. Oh. So a pretty long career as a geologist, as a scientist, and then, always loved art, though.
Yeah. So what do you think is your most significant achievement or contribution professionally in your life so far?
I suppose interpreting things. Yeah, I guess that's sort of what my drive is. I mean, obviously when I'm doing things, I'm focused on me. I'm not focusing on who's going to be looking at the work.
Yeah.
But, I think something to be proud of is that hopefully my interpretation of the natural world is something that people can connect with and find, deep pleasure and connection. Yeah, so that would be my main thing, I think.
So it's sort of about other people enjoyment.
In the final wash up, when I'm actually working, then I don't think about, what other people will think of it or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just me trying to communicate as best I can what it is that I love about the earth. But certainly as far as that contribution to community, society is, I hope they get something out of it like I do.
Yeah. So what challenges or obstacles have you faced, and how did you overcome them?
Moving around a fair bit is always a challenge. I've lived in Australia and then England and then France and then back to England. So, that's a challenge to communicate with the community, so to get to know people, especially other artists. Landscapes is not a problem because I just, have got a huge, vast stack of experiences. So, I take advantage of getting my experiences whenever and wherever I can. But I think, the challenge is, as an artist, to build up a community of people who actually get what you're doing and want to interact. So that is a problem if you're moving around a lot.
So what do you love most about this place, about living here?
The vastness. As an Australian and where I did work, you could just look forever, and that was that forever sensibility. I loved Dartmoor. We lived down there for a while, and that was the same thing. Being in hilly Buckfastleigh wasn't great, but the Dartmoor was there. It's this expanse. It's just great for the soul. And I think the other thing about the bay is the endless fluctuation. I mean, the subtlety of the colour and the water and the texture is endlessly inspiring. It's just so good for the soul, that expanse, So that's what I love about Morecambe.
Yeah. What would you say are your long-term goals, both personally and professionally?
Personally is just to pursue the love of life, adventure with Edward. If I couldn't make art, well, that's still the most important thing, is to share my life with friends and my partner, and to live it as full as I can and take risks, be adventurous. Yeah. Professionally, well, just keep working and keep hoping that people connect with what I do.
Yeah. How do you maintain a work-life balance? And if you do, what's your advice for other people?
Oh, wow, you've got to work, don't you? I mean, jeepers, life's about work. Because that's the joy, is actually doing what you do and taking it on, and I couldn't stand not working. I mean, I'm a doer, but that is part of my life, part of our life. It's wonderful, so privileged to live with another artist, because part of being an artist is solitude, and every artist needs solitude. So we both give each other space that we need. So personal goals is, well, just to live life to the fullest, I think. Yeah. And to be kind and considerate and generous and think about community and yeah.
So what advice would you give to somebody who wanted to essentially follow in your footsteps?
I suppose in any work is just go for it. You know, take advantage of every opportunity if it feels good. Don't be afraid. You know, take risks. Don't be frightened. You know, fear is one of the biggest killers of anything, I think, is just, you know, grab opportunities and go for it.
So if you could go, this is an extra question, if you could go back in time and speak to your 35-year-old self, like what advice would you give her?
Well, what I did then was try, you know, go for it. You've always loved art. You've wanted to do it, you know, get rid of the science, because I got fed up with working for accountants. You know, when you work for companies, it's all controlled by accountants and you have to, every month you have to stop work and start writing reports. So I told myself then, you know, I don't want that life. I want a life which is just far more adventurous and improvisatory and inspiring. So, yeah, I think that's the advice. If you're stuck somewhere and you don't like it, change it. As much as I love, and I have been out today, having coffee, sharing with friends, the community of coffee, which is fantastic, for me, coffee is a companion in thinking. You know, for me, coffee as an artist is this wonderful chance to stop, reflect, and think. So it's an absolute heartwarming friend. I guess that's, you know, what I feel, you know, that's the main thing for me for coffee, apart from the great stuff and the friendship and all that sort of thing. Yeah, it's an accompaniment to my thinking. It's not just the bowl.
Yeah, it's the pause.
It's the thing, I'm stuck. Go and make a coffee. Come back, think, sit, look, contemplate. It's contemplative. And I love I've got great big, the French style sort of, you know, coffee cups where you put your hand around it. That's to keep your hands warm. But it's also just that sense of comfort. And in comfort, you sort of, it's grounding. And then, you know, you can think really clearly. So, yeah, that's me and coffee, man.